definition of wealth truly is. So my first question, is it an amount of money? Who here thinks wealth or riches is an amount of money? One person. Okay, so no one else has any idea about an amount of money they'd like to have or own or possess. Anyone, yes? Now here's a question I'd like to ask all of you. When I say an amount of money, has anyone actually ever sat down and written how much that amount of money should be? Hands up. Because that's quite interesting that a few of you have done it, which congratulations. Because many years ago in Harvard University, that great hall of fame where great people came from, they did a little survey and they asked how many people had sat down and written their goals. And about 3% of that class had actually done that. And 20 years later, they went back and surveyed that same class to find out who were extremely successful or wealthy. And can anyone begin to imagine that the 3% who'd written their goals happened to be the same top 3% who are extremely wealthy and successful? So if you do nothing else from this weekend other than sitting down and writing out some goals for yourself. Now, if money happens to be one of your goals, write down exactly how much money you will have in 3 years or 5 years or 20 years. Write it down. You can write it down now, or you can write it down later. But at least when you're doing that, it's going into your unconscious mind. And that's where a lot of the most powerful activities take place that are going to determine your future success. And we'll come back to that later. So for some people, it could be amazing relationships. Now those relationships could be love relationships with somebody, a partner. They could be with a child. They could be with a parent. They could be with friends. They could be with workers. Or in some cases, they could be with all of humanity. Take the Dalai Lama, for example. He is compassionate and love for all humanity. So think about that, what that means to you. And is that what richness or wealth is to you? Is it perhaps time? Who here thinks time is important? Because isn't that one of the things that money can give you, is freedom and time to enjoy relationships? And here's one question. Who here thinks a relationship with themselves is important? And for those of you who don't think it's important, let me quote one of the, let's say, religious icons, a guy who was around 2,000 years ago called Jesus. And many people have made very, very strong, profound statements. One of his was, love thy neighbor as thyself. Because if you can't love yourself, how the hell can you love anyone else? Does that make sense? So, first of all, before you even think about what you're going to do, make sure inside yourself that you have that love for yourself. Because that is absolutely important. Health. Because to be honest, what's the use of all the other ones if you don't have health? So make every moment count. And if you can live those moments feeling healthy, feeling vital, getting out of bed in the morning, jumping up and feeling, yes, I'm glad to be alive. Isn't that good? Isn't that something worth doing? Because too many people, they earn their money, tons and tons of money. I met a friend of mine. I left him 20 years ago. He was in a bit of trouble. I gave him 50 quid. He went off to the States. He's now a multi-millionaire. I think his wealth has now dropped below the billion recently. And I met him 2 years ago. And he'd nothing, really. Because all it was money. I said, when is enough enough? He said, it'll never be enough. Money had become his God. Because he needed to prove something to himself and to others. And it was money. And he'd lost the most important thing, himself, in that search for money. Does that make sense? So again, it's put your priorities, your values of where they are. And a career. I mean, who here has heard the expression that I never worked a day in my life because everything I did I loved? And if you look at some of the very, very, very successful people, they don't work. They have fun. They love it. Branson, do you think he works? Or does he just do what he absolutely loves? He does it with so much energy and passion and desire that he succeeds no matter what. He never says, I can't do something. If somebody says you can't do something, he says, why can't I? You can't fly backwards and forwards across the Atlantic with an airplane and make money. Look at Freddie Laker. He goes, why can't I? And do you know what? The one great thing about humanity is there were tons and tons of people who told him why he couldn't do it. And he said thank you to every one of them. And for every reason that he couldn't do it, that he was told he couldn't do it, he found out how he could. And that's how he solved the problem. And as you know, he's got an empire across many, many different things. You don't know if he's put $2 billion aside for renewable energy because he cares about the planet. But he doesn't work. He has a career, maybe, but it's having fun, it's empowering people, it's doing things for people, it's adding immense value because that's what it's all about. Does that make sense? Now here's a question. When I go to bed every night, I review what I did during the day. But what I look at or think about are some good things. What did I do? What did I contribute today, either to other people or myself or towards my goals? Do you think that might be a useful thing to remember to do? So you can go to bed feeling good and feed your unconscious with some positive feelings. Because no matter what you did during the day, there was something good in it. There always is, if you look hard enough. It's worth thinking about. And you see, each day delivers us memories to last a lifetime. And you see, again, it's about priorities. There was this guy, his name was Jim, and he had a daughter. But he worked really hard, came home late every single night. And most nights he came home, his daughter was in bed asleep. But he was working for his family, he was working for his wife, he was working for his kids, he was doing all this for them. Or so he thought. So one evening he comes home, it was about 8 o'clock in the evening. And he's tired and he's wrecked, and his little girl sees him and her eyes light up. Dad, you're home. I want to ask you a question. Oh, just leave me alone for a minute, I just need to sit down. He goes into the fridge, grabs a nice cold beer, flops down in front of the TV, eats his cold dinner. His daughter there waits. Dad, please can I ask you a question? Please. Oh, what is it? Dad, how much do you earn an hour? For goodness sake, what are you asking me questions like? Well, just leave me alone and listen. I've had a hard day. I've been working all day for you guys. And I just need some time to relax. So her eyes dejected, looking down. She goes off and slowly goes upstairs to bed. After about 10 or 15 minutes, Jim's feeling rather bad. Feels a little bit guilty. It's one of these things that comes into us when we're a bit unkind to people. So he goes upstairs, looks at his daughter. She's lying there in the pillow. Her little golden curls flopped round her head. He looks at her and smiles. And suddenly he says, "It's okay, Dad, I'm awake. Listen, sorry, Pet. I was a bit curt with you earlier on. What did you want to ask me?" "I want to know how much you earned an hour, Dad." "About 20 euros, he said. "Oh. Dad, could I borrow 5 euros, please?"